The weapons of Gogma really deserve their own video, which I might actually make one day.
2,404 days later.
Wait, what? Is it happening?
Oh my god, it's happening.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Oh my god.
Oh!
Gogmazios. Oh, I gotta make that weapon video. Hey guys, this is Gaijin Hunter. 6 years ago, I made a video feature on my favorite monster in Monster Hunter, Gogmazios. I'll put a link in the description down below, but in it I covered its design, the fight, and hinted about how cool its weapons were. Now that we have him coming back in December, let's take a look at those weapons as I'm super excited to see them come back. Everything about the Gogma fight was amazing. The theming, the stage, the design, the armor, the weapons, you name it. Honestly, this is the best monster outside of Bloodbath Diablos that Monster Hunter could have brought back for me.
Got him!
The theme for Gogma's armor and weapons is that of being some ancient evil locked away, slumbered away from the rest of the world. The armor itself is that of an executioner, and all the weapons share this sort of, torture device or execution device theme. Super, I guess, emo, if you want to say, but I love the theme, and it's perfect now that we're going into Halloween season. First up, the Greatsword, the Ostrakon Oblivion. This is designed as a tombstone. Ostrakon means a piece of pottery with engravings on it, which you can see here. I do like that the mysterious item stuck in Gogma's chest this time is not a first generation Dragonator, but something more ancient and more techie feeling. We even see the blue orbs that you can sort of see as a motif here in the Greatsword in that object that is sticking out of its back. I'll talk about the text that we see on the weapon a little bit later after we go through the designs. It's worth noting that Oblivion here refers to long lost and forgotten. Let's check out the weapon description. A grotesque loneliness enters the netherworld darkness, never to be remembered again. It's a little depressing, isn't it? Grotesque here is an interesting choice. I think it works well. The Japanese has a word that can be several layers of meaning, something that is odd, grotesque, different, just alien to you, just something that's just not, it's unsettling. And then the netherworld here could be poetic, or heck, knowing how Monster Hunter's been lately, it could be direct, who knows? In just a quick clip here, this shows sort of that all the Gogma weapons have this really wonderful glowing sort of hue design for its weapons, so we can definitely expect this coming back, I think, in Monster Hunter Wilds. And here is a quick clip of how it lights up when you charge the Greatsword. I love these types of effects where they change shape or they change color depending on the charge level. Next up is the Longsword, the Headsman's Requite. Headsman is a term for an executioner who beheads people. The Japanese here is using the word elgalio, which is Greek for tool, so literally the tool of the executioner. The weapon reads, a grotesque reaper that waits in the netherworld darkness to devour one's chance of rebirth. Talk about dark, right? He's gonna cut you off and make it so that you can never be reborn again. That's a pretty apt description for something that's dark and scary. I also really love the scythe designs for Longsword. I actually do have footage of me swinging it around here, which I'll play now, so you can see that it also gets that wonderful glowing effect. The next up is the Sword and Shield, the Kide Ruin. Kide is a phrase that you might know if you're religious from the O Lord Have Mercy, which is Kide Ereison, I believe. So this is the Lord of Ruin. These blades not mean to defend, but to rip apart. The item description reads, grotesque footsteps as Netherland darkness approaches to snuff out all hope in light. It's definitely not a defender weapon, huh? That's why I chose not to put the shield on here, because you're just hacking and slashing with this thing. And here's how it looks in the game. It's actually quite big and choppy, which I really like. Next we have the dual blades, which are called the Eternal Leave Takers, or in Japanese, the Clavis of Eternal Goodbyes. Clavis, or clavis, is the Latin word for a key. Indeed, if you wanted to grant someone an eternal goodbye, this would be the key to making that possible. The description reads, grotesque scars from when two sinful souls were torn apart and cast into netherworld darkness. I'm sorry I'm laughing after all these. I just find them really, they're cool. And it's actually quite a faithful translation of what we have in the Japanese, which is rare. I think in Monster Hunter 4, and onward, they really made an effort to allow the localization to have the screen space to actually write these things out. And I actually had a clip of this one as well, so you can see the nice glowing effects. Next up, we have the hammer called the Desmos Admonition. The Japanese are using a similar word, which is the Desmoterion, which is the Greek word for prison or jail. Do note that you see on some of these designs, they have this sort of like seismic pattern going on here with like these sort of like waves. Almost looks like an alien, like a fingerprint. It's just a consistent design. They never go into details on what exactly it means. The description reads, a grotesque soul that wanders the netherworld darkness, empty of hope and denied any true home. It's kind of sad, isn't it? Also, I gotta admit, I love the nail design they have on all these weapons, sort of like, you know, torturing and sealing in the darkness. I'm guessing that that's supposed to be like a head motif, but quite irregular. In fact, it might actually be Gogma's head. Like if you look at the shape of it, it's not human, unlike the next one. Next up is the hunting horn, called the Onyx Tipsicary. This is the name of one of the muses in Greek mythology, which has to do with dance and joy. Well, I don't think this is going to be a very joyous dance, given that it's got the picture of a human skull with a nail shoved into its throat to silence it, and when you play it, it makes a pretty interesting dark tune. The item description reads, the grotesque melody of a bird trapped in netherworld darkness and longing for the blue sky. Poor bird trapped inside the cage. I guess when you play it, you can see it like open up with like little claws for a split second, so I guess if there was a bird in there, maybe you could escape? I don't know. The next weapon is the lance, called the Aether Jekard. Jekard is the Armenian word for spear. I believe there's also a very famous monastery called the Monastery of the Spear, or the Monastery of Jekard, or Jekard, however it's pronounced, said to, once hold the artifact of the spear that was used to wound Christ when he was on the cross. I absolutely love that the shield is that of a rib cage, and there's spikes inside, meaning that whoever's holding this is going to hurt them as well. The description aptly reads, a grotesque weapon put to rest in the netherworld darkness, reduced from a noble soul to mere flesh. This weapon also has a really flashy sort of glow design. It doesn't really fit on one screen here, unfortunately, so I'm not able to show you the very tippy top of the weapon, but you get the idea that this is going to be one to definitely wear as a good glam for your weapons, if not just as your main weapon if you're a lancer. Next up is the Gunlance, the auguring prophet. In Japanese, they're using the Greek pronunciation of prophetia, which of course means prophet, and the auguring meaning the omen of the prophet. I believe the omen's probably going to be, I'm about to go boom, you are going to die. The description, grotesque agony as the netherworld darkness leaves its sigils of promised ruin upon the body. Yeah, that sounds like it's something to get Rurikon's juices going. And here it is in the game, just so you can see how it splits open as a gun lance to open up. And again, look at the shield, the spikes coming through and stabbing into the hand of the person who wields it. I love these little details. Next up is the switch axe, called the Wicked Conqueror. The Japanese uses the word conquista, which is Spanish for conqueror, and indeed, it looks wicked indeed. The description reads, a grotesque weapon filled with feelings of shame that was once buried in the underworld. Interesting enough is they're using the word underworld, but I believe this should just be the netherworld. This is the same word that they're using in all the other descriptions. And here it is when you transform it. I know it's a little hard to tell what the weapon looks like until you see it in action. So here it is in its axe form. Nice, good, chunky design. It's also worth noting here that the weapons for Gogmazios have a sleep element on them and just very high raw and good sharpness. But the thing is like the sleep, they came up with a reason for it later, but they said the initial reason was just that the game designers said, hey, we don't have a sleep weapon for like the end game, let's just give it sleep. So they decided to, and then came up with the idea that, well, if no one's really seen this monster and it's that huge, then it must probably slumber and hibernate for tens if not hundreds of years after it feasts on sulfur and gunpowder and stuff like that. Why I'd be happy with sleep weapons again in Monster Hunter Wilds, it would be cool if, because it's such a fiery version of this one, because he's in the lava, if he had a blast element type instead. Moving on to Charge Blade, the Promised Nadir. Nadir is the astronomical term for something that's directly below you from your reference position, sort of like the opposite of Zenith. So this one's really neat, and the Promised here comes with like payback or the promised result of your actions, almost like atonement. I love how it has this coffin design, and then when you transform it into an axe, you see almost like the silhouette of Gogma coming up from out of the underground. I think it's crazy cool. The description reads, a grotesque weapon of netherworld darkness, where unpunished sins are discovered and paid for. Pay for your sins. Yeah, so that goes very much into the name that we had there before. Again, just super cool design. Here's what it looks like in the game, and you can see its transformations. Next up is the insect glaive, the Limbo Lacrimosa. Lacrimosa you might recognize from the very famous Requiem by Mozart of the same name. It means mournful. You can almost interpret it as the mournfulness or weepfulness of those stuck in limbo, forgotten forever. Here is the description of the weapon, which reads, a haunting weapon from the netherworld. Bathed in darkness, it makes the bearer feel abandoned. And here's a look of how it looks inside the game, at least as it was in Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. And next up we have the bow, the Calamitous Cupid, where the Japanese is using the original pronunciation, which is Cupido. The Calamitous in the Japanese here refers to a country that has been forgotten. It's been wiped off the face of the earth, has been destroyed, is lost, no longer with us. A calamity happened there. Which is kind of interesting because the lore book does say that they're curious why there hasn't been more sightings of Gogma before, and they said it's either because it slumbers a lot and it lurks in the darkness and no one has seen it, or because everyone who's encountered it has perished. Like every town that it's come across, leveled, destroyed. So it is very much, I think, a good flagship meaning for the idea of an elder dragon who brings calamity in their wake, maybe not intentional, but as a side effect of their existence. The description is grotesque misery as souls in the netherworld darkness recall their lost past and weep rivers. And here's what it looks like in the game. Still has that nice little sheen, and the spikes are very pronounced. And now into the bowguns, we have the light bowgun, which is the Bethorned Dystopia. Bethorned here literally being what it says there, which is the crown of thorns that, for example, you put on the head of Christ. And dystopia, they're using in Japanese the original spelling, which is dystopos. Its description reads, a grotesque weapon from the netherworld darkness, designed to deliver eternal punishment. Again, very cool weapon design. I like how it feels a little more modern, even though, everything else feels very ancient and very old. Definitely a cool design. And while it does look like a hand crossbow in the design, in the actual game it's quite big, so it gives a good amount of oomph and power to it. And finally, the heavy bowgun, the Trembling Lordship. The word here they're using in Japanese is Herrschaft, which is German, meaning the Lord or Conqueror. Its description is a weapon forged in netherworld darkness, inspired by from once blissful memories. I actually think this is a first case of all these weapons where they ran out of space. In the Japanese, the second line is something like, applies to the soul an endless and ceaseless fear and agony, or something like that. And here's how it looks in the game with the nice glowing color. Okay, and to end my deep dive on these awesome weapons, I hope you guys are enjoying this video, is the sort of inscriptions that we see on some of them. I've put up the original textures of some of these here so you can see them, and it definitely looks like it might have been like a cipher, like it was taking Latin letters and replacing them, or maybe it was just a stylized way of doing it, but I spent well over 8 hours trying everything from cryptology methods, for coming up with matching, trying to see whether or not the left and right side could have been constructed like Korean Hangul. And it might just be a fact that I've been looking at it too long, but I see words like delve or excellence or alert and stuff like that, but it could just be me. I mean, we sort of went through, looked at all the different type of glyphs, and I do think that it's random. I don't think that there's actually deep meaning behind a lot of this, or if they are, it's just I failed to find it. It is worth mentioning that in the game, I think they mentioned that the lettering here is like a spin-off or kind of reminiscent of the ancient texts which we decipher, but even those were even more like that 100% gibberish, because the first letter of all the ancient text is basically just a stylization of the icon of the monster that it unlocks. Cool concept. Either way, I love the way that they designed the lettering. It's interesting that it hasn't changed from its concept stage to how it is in the game. There are some repeating phrases, but as for what it means, I leave to you. There seems to be no clear answer. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this deep dive into Gogmazios' weapons. I love the theming, I love the coloring, everything about them, and I definitely plan on making all the weapons once Gogmazios comes later this December. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Check out the monster feature video if you haven't already, but then again, with it being like, what, 6 years and 400,000 views, I imagine everybody who was interested have watched it, but hope you guys enjoy it, and hopefully the algorithm doesn't hide this video from you. And until next time, happy hunting.